Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Zerg, where we're starting off on the map 10,000 feet. The spotting right here in the upper left, playing in blue, we have a previous world champion of StarCraft 2, one of the exclusive members of the Millionaires Club, one of the 3 players in the game that has earned more than $1 million in prize money alone. We have none other than Rogue. And down in the bottom right, from Canada, playing in red, we're looking inside of the main base of Trigger. Now, Trigger has been very impressive as of late. I do feel like Rogue is always a difficult opponent. Rogue is one of those players who never goes down without a fight and always a difficult guy to play against. But Trigger has been looking very strong. He's one of those guys that's on the up and up and up. And even though he's been competing for quite a few years, he certainly has been making steady progress. He's, of course, on the same team as both Serral as well as Raynor. He's been spending a lot of time over in Korea as well. He seems to have his own place there, if I'm not mistaken, and he does live there for at least a significant period of the year. And obviously, that means you get a lot of solid practice, and it certainly does make you better at StarCraft 2. Now, Rogue, always a tricky opponent. Here's the thing about Rogue. I mean, I've mentioned this a couple of times in the past, but I still find it very typical of the way that Rogue likes to approach StarCraft 2. So, once upon a time, Rogue's late game was considered to be the absolute best in the entire world. How did he win tournaments back then? Nidus worm cheeses. So this man had absolutely refined his late game to a T. Nobody was able to beat him, but he had found out that there was this Nidus worm all-in that pretty much no one could really hold. So he figured, I'll just execute that over and over and over and over again. And that's really Rogue's playstyle in a nutshell. He likes to go for whatever he deems to be, whatever he thinks is like the most oppressive style that he can play. Now, right now in the current meta, I don't think there's anything crazy that Zerg can really go for. But he is certainly not afraid to mix it up if he feels like that is the approach he needs to bring. And he's been very strong, especially in late games over the last few months. I've been impressed in his PvZ late game, so we'll see what this is all gonna be like. Obviously, well, since Rogue was the #1 late game player on the planet, we've had, that's like a decade ago at this point, we've had quite a few other players popping up as well. I think for Zerg these days, it's very clearly Serral, but there's no denying that Rogue is still a bit of a monster. Very quick third nexus right here for Trigger, opting to go for the one that is a little bit closer to the natural, but then also relatively exposed. This is one of those locations, actually, where Zerg with Lurkers can even hit the mineral line if you burrow them. I don't know how that works either, man. The spikes, for some reason, can travel across. But it is a location that is technically a little bit vulnerable. Oracle, though, starts flying around. And it looks like this is when you know things are a little bit desperate, right? Looks like we're just going to settle for some larva and a couple of cocoon kills. All right. It's better than nothing, I suppose. He does have 3 confirmed kills right now, but 2 of those were, well, larva and a cocoon, so Rogue will be able to get the majority of his money back for those. Twilight Council on the back of it, together with a Forge and extra gateways right now being added into the mix. Now, Trigger rarely plays a very spicy style, so he's a little bit more, I mean, he does mix that in as well, but he's a little bit more of your conventional macro Protoss. Maybe that's why he's not necessarily on that many people's radar, I suppose, as like an absolute world-class Protoss, but he certainly is. Oh, that was risky. He certainly is amongst the very best in the world right now. 5 drones to start things off. We're going to go into the Blink research together with the +1 attack. Even though guys like Hero have been very fond of the +1 and then, well, the charge research immediately. This right here is the gold standard. This is what Protoss players usually go for in this matchup. Got ourselves the rule of 1 gas over here, executed by Rogue. This is something that I've been talking about for many, many years now, especially when I used to do a lot of StarCraft 2 coaching. Now, at the moment, I don't really do any of it anymore, but I have done many hundreds of hours of coaching one-on-one over the years. And the rule of 1 gas is pretty simple. If you're a Zerg player and you're trying to get better at the game, usually one of the most common mistakes I see is people getting their gas too early. So you start getting your second gas too early, your third gas too early, and you just end up with a very lopsided income. The rule of 1 gas basically states that you start off with 1 Vespian gas geyser. You don't pull the drones off at all, you just sort of keep it mining. And then by the time you saturate 3 full mineral lines, that's when you start taking your additional gases. And I've always found that that is a very easy way to sort of, yeah, put that in your head rather than like being, I mean, it's not necessarily the thing we'll see pro gamers do every time, but it gives you a much better eco. You can see right there, Rogue also executing it. So he set around on just one Vespian gas geyser and then built 5 additional gases all in one go. He's already going into a Lurker den together with an infestation pit, so we are just building up, yeah, the straight macro game. Likewise here, Trigger did finish up the Blink research. He is now just about to finish up the +1 attack as well, but this Stalker army does not really seem to have any intention of moving out. He's just protecting a 4th Nexus, so that's a really quick 4th base right here for Trigger. We are effectively skipping most of the early game. We're effectively skipping most of the mid game right now as well. And we're going straight to the late game. I actually would not have minded seeing Trigger go for a bit of a push though, because this is a pretty greedy Zerg. That's risky. Keeps the Oracle alive. But this is a pretty greedy Zerg, and getting 8 worker killed, it's nice. I don't think you can ever really complain about that here as the Protoss player. So it's going to be straight charge though, after the Blink, and then also, of course, the Psionic Storm research. This is a totally viable style to play here for Trigger, but you're not really getting a ton of value now out of that advantage that you've created for yourself. Rogue, though, is just following this up with a Hive 7.5 minutes into the game. He's already getting the gases going right now over at that 4th base as well. Now that he's going into the Lurkers, he really does need an insane amount of them, and decides to even add a 5th into the mix. There we already go into a Fleet Beacon, a 2nd Stargate. This is 10 minutes, no rush. Although Trigger didn't quite, he didn't quite follow the rules. He did have to cancel a thing, so 25 minerals down the drain for him, but he dealt a bit of damage. I guess the question is mostly right now, when do these players move out? Like, when do they actually decide to go for an attack? Because it doesn't seem to me that Trigger wants to go and move before Skytles is done. Rogue is gonna see that right now. And likewise, Rogue is likely not gonna want to go until his Lurker upgrades are done. And for that, he needs to get a Hive first. He needs to get both of those upgrades researched. I don't think we'll really have any big aggression here until like maybe minute 12. This may actually be the most passive early game of, well, Zerg versus Protoss I've seen in all of 2026 so far. Trigger is going to venture out onto the map a little bit. He knows he's playing against Lurkers. The nice thing about playing against Lurkers is that you're not really going to get jumped. You can obviously get surrounded, I suppose, but Lurkers are very good at, like, defending a position. But if you're marching out there and you're trying to snipe a couple of creep tumors, Lurkers are not really the best units for chasing. New hatchery coming up as well on the left side. New Nexus also, likewise, coming up in the far bottom left. Tempest production has already started. We do see a contamination right over here used by the Overseer. Pneumatized Carapace coming up as well here for the Zerg. That's that Overlord and Overseer speed. We're gonna go for the Hydra Dash. We have Burrow. We're going into a Spire. We've got a bunch of Spines coming up. This is a very, very passive game so far. Now, there is a little bit of a Zergling push in the far bottom left. At the very least, okay. A bunch of losses on the side of the Protoss, but Trigger is hardly gonna be upset about losing a bunch of men that have swords for hands. Edward Scissorhands right over here, man. Yeah, these guys are scary, but not really the main thing that Protoss will be worried about at this stage in the match. As a matter of fact, he kind of wants to replace them. You do kind of want to get rid of some of those so you can add on additional Skytulsi units, although, well, it's important to keep this base up and running too, so he is forced to warp in a few more of the troops. Okay, Tempests are here. Revelation would be big. Yep, Revelation right there onto all of those Lurkers. That means that the Tempests are going to start, well, hitting whatever they can see. The nice thing about Tempest, of course, is that they can shoot away further than they can see. So that's where that Revelation combo is super powerful. Cloaking gets activated on the mothership to prevent the Zergling run-by. Is Trigger going to be able to get some value here? The Lings are making a run for it, but I think the hatchery is going to die before the Zealots indeed are going to do so as well. I mean, these are little trades, though. These are not particularly important snipes at all. Nidus Network, already done here for the Zerg. We're going into an Ultralisk Cavern too. Lurkers and Zerglings are running all over the place. Very quick warp in here from Trigger, just to make sure that this Nexus here will live. This is now, though, Rogue really started to speed things up. Zerglings run into the natural expansion. Lurkers over at the third base. Nidus Worm inside of the main of the Protoss. In the meantime, the recall does complete. That's gonna, I guess, keep some of this all alive. Nidus Worm in the main base will get sniped. And in the meantime, the Lurkers here, they don't have an easy way out. Honestly, this may be a problem here for Rogue. Ooh, careful. Oh, the probes, they all decide to move in the wrong direction. 28 of those bad boys do fall. And it looks like even though there's no counter for the flying units here whatsoever for Rogue, looks like the Lurkers will still be able to escape. And this is that chaos that Rogue is so very well known for. He does this in Zerg versus Terran with the Mass Overseer and then the Mass Nidus Worm style. It's a slightly lesser extent, I suppose, in ZVP, but you can still see how effective it is. Trigger clearly not able to really stay on top of all of it, and that is 28 workers down the drain. The thing is, though, when you have like 5 Nexus, 28 workers is obviously something you don't really want to lose, but it's also hardly the worst thing in the world. You can replenish it pretty quickly. It's not like all of those Zerg attacks are free. Zerglings, though, he unburrows all but one. Zerglings, though, do indeed go back for more. Zealots are gonna try and see if they can snipe the base. This time around, the Zealots will not get the job done. Push in the meantime continues over here. Now the Lings are inside of the main base as well. Okay, Rogue is basically just creating chaos wherever he can. Getting the Forge sniped is actually a big deal. Yep. Adrenal glands, man. It's such a powerful upgrade for Zerg. It makes those Lings just attack significantly quicker, and you can tell. Now there's Lurkers behind the Naturals mineral line. There's a bunch of Zerglings over here as well. We have the Nidus Worm in the meantime also deployed in the far bottom left. Lings are burrowed still inside of the main base. There's a bunch of probes in the middle of nowhere. Dude, Trigger may actually just be straight up falling apart. Like, this game may actually just be over from the Zerg harassment alone. Because this is way more damage than you're supposed to be able to deal as a Zerg here. Nexus even falls in the bottom left. Wow. This is some of the very best Zerg harassment I've seen. Oh, yeah, forced to storm his own units. The burrowed Zerglings really are the key. I really like that research. I mean, there's still one of them remaining here, but having those Lings burrowed, they provide vision to be able to put down the Nidus Worms. Now we're gonna get the Changeling oppression. Rogue doesn't have as many as he would against Terran, but maybe he'll add more into the mix. If a bunch of those Changelings slip through the cracks, he can obviously use that as well to then, well, put a Nidus Worm wherever he likes. Spire on the back it is right now. That's Spire number 2. Yeah, for the Zerg player. He's got Ultralisks as well. 92 workers as well versus 69. There's a lot more gas, though, available here for Trigger. And his ultimate army is going to be one that, well, Zerg needs to respect. Like, sure, all of the harassment has been good. Sure, Trigger has been losing a lot of stuff, but Trigger has still got a monstrous army. Keep in mind, the man's been very greedy early on. So even though he does lose a couple thousand resources here and there, it's very replaceable. Now, as a matter of fact, a little bit more gas even lost on the side of the Zerg player here. Okay. Zealot run by in the upper right. Spine Crawler's down in the right spot. Observer is going to get destroyed by the Spore Crawler. Ultras are now going to show themselves, and yeah, that'll be the end of this little attacking squad. Especially losing the Archon, though, is kind of annoying. Generally, for Protoss, the main bottleneck is gas. Now, that's usually the case. You can see it so far, at least, that Trigger has a bank with more Vespian in it than minerals. Microbial Shroud coming up here for Rogue. Dude, Rogue is getting everything. He's actually got pretty much all of the tech other than Banelings. You know what? You can definitely make use of Banelings in this matchup too, especially when you have +3 melee. It does hit very hard. Gonna put a Nidus Worm down as well at home so he can, well, quickly move things around. Trigger trying his very best to participate in this game of Nidus Whack-A-Mole. So far, though, it's not really been too successful. Ooh, following it up with Void Race. Void Race together with the speed upgrade for the Void Ray. Okay. You know what? In a game where Zerg is clearly trying to backstab you every which way you go, I think Void Rays are a pretty solid choice. Obviously, he knows he's playing against Ultras. They're very armored. And then obviously you have the same thing as well with the Corruptors. Corruptor's also armored, so they're not a bad choice. They're just a little bit unorthodox. I don't know if they're the most supply effective, I suppose, but... Alright, Queen is over here. Nidus, oh, in the main base. We have a recall right now towards the mothership. Lurkers notice it, though, and they will manage to slip away. Ultras, in the meantime, over on the right side. They do not want to engage against this hit squad. Man, a rogue seems to be everywhere. Let's do a little bit of first-person view right here for the Zerg player. So that's a Nidus Worm going up inside of the main base. Moving around those Lurkers in every direction. You can kind of follow along with where the fights are happening and where he is looking by paying attention to the mini-map. He will notice that the Nidus is being attacked in the main, so he's not even bothering checking for it. It is a little chaotic, right? But again, I think the Lurkers in the bottom left, they are moving in a location here that Rogue is... Okay, there's still the mothership in that area. I thought Trigger wasn't going to be quite prepared for it. Likewise, let's pay attention here to what the Protoss is looking at, right? So, what is Trigger trying to do? You can see the frantic scrolling. Usually, pro gamers are very good at using camera location control groups. And when you see this constant scrolling of the screen, that's usually indicative of the players being stressed out. Usually, the more scrolling, the more stress. Still though, Trigger has done a good job. Let me take control of the camera again. He's done a good job, and now he's moving out with a very scary army. I honestly don't know if there's enough Zerg available to shut this down. Ultra here is going to take care of the one Zealot. This hatchery, though, disappeared in just a matter of seconds. I don't think this Protoss army can be stopped right now by the Zerg, although the abductions are real nice. He is going to get a few of his Tempests. Parasitic Bomb also important to get caught here because, well, Void Rays aren't quite as beefy as those other late-game Protoss units in the air. He decides to back up. Gets a hatchery killed. Starts up a new Nexus of his own. Immortal production here is kicking in. Absolutely critical against Ultralisks. If you do not have a counter to the Ultra, I mean, you're gonna fall behind really quickly. So there will be 10 Ultralisks out on the battlefield here in just a moment versus 9 Immortals. I've got a feeling if you're a fan of the Ultralisk, close your eyes. Unless, I suppose, we can see Neural Parasite from the Infestors onto the Immortals, then the Ultralisks will actually tear everything apart. A lot of Spore Crawlers being set up already. You see how quickly that Ultra disappeared? Oh, Microbial Shroud, honestly, not a bad idea. He does indeed throw it down, but the Immortals are still plowing through it all. My god, what a fight. Absolute cinema. Is this good enough for the Zerg player? It seems like actually most of the Immortals did die due to the Microbial Shroud. Like, up until this point, right? Up until like a month or two ago, Microbial Shroud was considered to be a bit of a meme. But lately, we've been seeing guys like Cero get a lot of value out of it. And likewise, right now as well, we see it from Rogue. I wonder if Microbial Shroud is actually slowly going to be like, it's one of those slow grinds. I think it's slowly going to be one of the best abilities in the game at this rate. The thing about Ultras is that they hit extremely hard when they hit. But their main problem is getting to the fight, right? Usually they die, or they are meant as like a way to tank the damage. Normally they die before they really get the damage done. Microbial Shroud is enabling Ultras to actually close the distance. Here we go again. Fungal Growth, Microbial Shroud. I think that's what we gotta do. In the meantime, Parasitic Bombs are going down as well. Corruptors are swooping in. I think all the units on the ground are going to disappear, including the High Templar, and they are really expensive. Not enough Corruptors available to really finish all of this off, but, I mean, this is still an incredible fight right here for Rogue. Still, though, Trigger did keep the Tempest up in the air, but he knows there's going to be a very big Corruptor reinforcement in a moment. Those Zerg units are going to pop out of the cocoons with the next cycle, so he can't really chase this. In the meantime, the Lurkers are going in on the right side. We also have a new Nidus Worm building on the far left. This looks extremely oppressive here for Trigger. Like, what is Trigger going to be able to do against this? Okay, well, there is a new Nexus. A very ambitious one, I will say. This is the easiest kill for Rogue ever. Problem is he doesn't know. I wonder if at some point down the line we're gonna get a patch where, like, Microbial Shroud gets nerfed. That seems to be a bit of a theme over the last, like, 6-7 years or so of StarCraft 2. Where whenever Serral does something that's a little bit too good, we'll scale it down a little. Oh, this is bait. Yeah, oh my god, he just left those lurkers on the right side to invite the Protoss army to come out and play yet again. Microbial Shroud enabling the Ultras on the left. Immortals are still available, though. This time around, Rogue decided to overcommit to flying units, so he could get rid of those the Tempest there, all of the Skytles once and for all. Now we have a big transition back to anti-ground. We have still all of those Infestors up and running. Ultralisks are coming. Trigger is going out onto the map, but this is mighty dangerous. Do you actually want to go deep onto Creep Trigger? You do not know where the Infestors are. If you get fungled here, you can't leave. Dude, Rogue is making Zerg late game look insane. I have heard so many Zerg players lately complain about PvZ, especially the late game, but he's looking like an absolute monster. Still, Trigger is not out of this yet. Even though the fights have been very Zerg favored, I think all of the harassment has been Zerg favored too. Trigger's economy has been good enough. And he's been doing a good job as well, sniping all of those bases of the Zerg. Rogue has been rich, but not super rich. This hatchery over here especially has already fallen, I think, 3 times. This may very well be the 4th. The Zergling run by over on the left, though, did kill an additional 23 probes. I've got a feeling that this hatchery over on the right may also be in a bit of a problematic spot. Brute Lord's now actually added into the mix. So we have Ultra, Infestor, Brute Lord, Lurker. We have gone from Zerg players going pure Hydraling Bane and never really transitioning to late game units ever, to Rogue now playing all of the late game units. Like, we have literally every single one of them. Viper, Infestor, Brute Lord, Corruptor, Ultralisk. Lurker. Did I say Lurker? I think I did. Anyways. Fascinating. Even though we haven't really had any crazy changes lately to the balance of the game, you can see that strategically speaking, StarCraft 2 is still progressing. Trigger is going to be able to shut down some of the lurkers over here on the left. Rogue has a bank. Now, I don't want to overstate the advantage here of Rogue. Like, this is still a winnable game for Trigger. Even though I have been very much so highlighting Rogue's behavior, Trigger has done a good enough job to keep in this game and to actually, keep his head above water. Securing this Nexus over here on the left is really good. If you can actually control this for a, long time, it's gonna be very difficult for Rogue to actually clutch a win. Rogue's bank is still significant, but it's not massive. This is not a unit composition that Zerg can very quickly, remake. Like, if you look at the gas value, look at it. 6,500 gas spent right here for Rogue to make the army that he's got right now, and he's got 1,100 gas in the bank. Here we go again, though. Fungal growth on some of those Tempests, making it really difficult for Protoss to retreat. The Immortals are down at the bottom. No Microbial Shroud this time around, so Trigger does get some good hits in. Some nice feedbacks as well. Fungal's here to make sure that this Protoss army can't really chase. Trigger does decide to move on to creep for just a moment, though. Microbial Shroud yet again. Immortals are gonna get destroyed by the Ultras, and I think this will be the end of the Groundtos army yet again. Not enough Corruptors. This is a recurring issue. Can we see a... Ooh, I was gonna say maybe a Neural Parasite? I guess the Brute Lords can escape because the Ultras are ready to sacrifice themselves by moving forward. In the meantime, the Zerglings have taken care of most of the natural expansion. What a game to start off the best of 5. He wants to fungal. He wants to fungal. Yep, there we go. Making it pretty much impossible for this Protoss army to escape. A lot of low HP Tempests are still available. Cloak is activated, but there are Overseers nearby to provide vision. There's only one Corruptor up in the air here, though. And that means Mama will live, but that Nexus is not so lucky. And with the dust settled, This is a major advantage right now for Rogue. Trigger has got a decent army, but not one that can really fight against the Zerg. Like, he can stay in the game. There's no reason for him to tap out. Rogue is not very rich. His gas especially is a bit of a problem. But he can always make queens, right? And queens are going to be a very formidable choice. Ooh, prismatic alignment still active on those voids. Zerglings and ultras going in for the counterattack again. Man, he is the swarm. I'm getting nerd chills just looking at the way that the Lings and the Lurkers and the Nidus Worms and all of these Zerg units are running every which way on this map for like the last 20 minutes. It's kind of crazy. Like, we started off so passively, but then at some point Rogue was like, okay, I'm done. The gloves are off. Let's punch. Still, Trigger has a good Skytles ball. He has enough Tempest to basically one-shot everything that Zerg has. As long as he doesn't get fungled again. Oh, careful. Oh, he gets fungled immediately as soon as I say it. Prismatic alignment, though, gets activated on the voids. So many Zerglings still available. Queens right now getting close as well. They're going to be used for anti-air, but also for transfusion onto the Corruptors. Bunch of Hydras added into the mix. Not usually the best anti-air option, but I don't really mind it. Mama's going to sacrifice herself to try and get some of those other units out. But that is not going to happen. GG gets called. It's Rogue who wins a spectacular game number 1. Alrighty, that takes us to the Celestial Enclave. An absolute beaut. Let's see. Can a Rogue go back-to-back with matches like that? Kind of felt to me, right? And this is the frustrating part for Trigger. Kind of felt to me that Trigger managed to do exactly what he wanted in like the first 10 minutes or so, right? Like, he effectively invited the Zerg player to come and play the macro game. Rogue said, okay, I'm not gonna bother attacking you if you're not gonna bother attacking me too much. I mean, you have your oracles flying around. I guess one thing that Trigger could have done a lot better, though, is capitalize on the early game advantage. Because when you keep all of your oracles alive, you don't really lose anything. I don't think he lost anything until, like, he had to cancel a pylon or something, which was 25 minerals, but he basically had, like, the perfect first 10 minutes. He killed a lot of drones on the other side of the map, and then he never really capitalized on the advantage. Like, I guess the advantage that he capitalized on was grabbing a earlier than usual 4th Nexus. But most of the time, what we see Protoss players do instead is go for, like, a Stalker counterattack. And that is something that certainly could have worked out there. On a map like it, right? On a map 10,000 feet, you have quite a bit of pushing potential. Ooh, we're gonna sack the Adepts. 2 workers is not great. No, I think 3 workers is good. 2 workers for 2 Adepts, I don't love. The problem is, now the Oracle that will pop out of the Stargate here soon will likely have to go on defense duty. Normally, it's the Adepts that are right over here. Yeah, now this Oracle is likely not gonna be able to move out. A little bit of a supply block here as well for Trigger. If he loses this pylon, oy, 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 oy. Now the second Oracle is not going to come out. Yeah, so I kind of hate sacking the 2 Adepts like that, because it creates big problems at home. Now this small little pesky group of Zerglings canceled a pylon. Oracle has now not really got an opportunity to really deal any damage. He still hasn't deactivated the pulsar beam either. This is the type of stuff that can actually just make you fall apart as a Protoss. Like, this is actually a very significant advantage now for Rogue. Rogue has not been slowed down in any way, and he has slowed down the Protoss quite a bit. Oh, he gets the pylon kill again. If I was Trigger, I would get triggered. Yeah. He's putting the trigger in Trigger. Not good. +1 melee coming up. Lair. On the production tab. Now, Rogue is somebody, right, that will abuse advantages like this. He's got the option here to go for like a very quick 4th hatchery of his own, right? Kind of like what Trigger did in the previous game. He could certainly aim to play the late game again, but I've got a feeling, watching many Rogue games over the years, that is not what he's thinking of doing. Maybe. I don't know. But I wouldn't really be surprised to see him go for like a Nidus all-in or like a big Overlord drop or something very aggressive on the back of this. At least if he believes that there is a way to push a Protoss out of a game when they don't have a very solid early game, I think he's the one. Oh, that's so bad. Ah! Yeah, if he wasn't considering it already, he's considering it now for certain. This game is going nowhere for Trigger. Zergling run by yet again, gets a Stalker. No, yes. Shield battery. Shield battery real good. All right. Shield battery is gonna save the day. Hatchery in the far bottom right. Baneling Nest this time around. Spire. Okay. Maybe that is what Rogue is gonna capitalize on. He is making the transition. Despite building a Roach Warren, he's making the transition to Mutaling Bane. Normally, this Blink follow-up can kind of kill Mutaling Bane follow-ups from the Zerg, right? Like, it's a transition that's quite slow for Zerg. Even though they did buff, I guess, with the most recent patch, the Spire quite a bit. It can still kind of feel like you're running to your own grave. With an early game that's been as solid as this one, Rogue is likely going to be able to get the Mutas out uncontested. Oh. Rogue has just been an absolute pain in the butt with the Zerglings. Not just in this game. Oh, he's gonna get another link. Or another probe. Now, I've actually watched quite a bit of Trigger's live stream. I don't think he gets triggered. No, he's very chill. I don't think he gets triggered at all. This Nexus in the top left is gone, guys. If Rogue decides to target it, it is... Yeah, it is a disaster. Ugh. Pain. Sometimes you gotta rip off the Band-Aid. I mean, the High Templar don't have Storm yet. Oh, no. Oh, no. Don't lose the Templar. He's gonna have to get another Archon. Look away, Protoss players. An Archon even dies. Look away. This is... It's an absolute disaster. Like, this is like watching an avalanche, man. There's like a little village at the bottom of the mountain, and the little village is called Trigger. Nothing has gone his way so far. Now the Mutas are gonna hurt even more. The Mutas are gonna get across the map completely unscouted. There's zero chance the Trigger has got money here to really get a photon cannon done in time. I mean, he's building one blindly. Maybe he knows something. Maybe he can keep this Nexus in the upper left alive, but the problem is now he's got no Stalkers at home. Needs to warp in a bunch of them. Okay. I mean, this is honestly better for Protoss with the first group of Mutas showing up than I anticipated it being. But I mean, it's still a little bit messy. Oh, Zerglings slip into the natural expansion too. Ugh. It's like watching a car crash, man. I can't look away. I know I shouldn't be watching this, but don't lose the Phoenix. Oh, he lost the Phoenix. Yeah. Now, Rogue started off some phenomenal harassment in the previous game. He had to wait until the Lurkers were out at the time, so it was a little bit later on into the match. Zerglings slip into the natural yet again. I think Trigger's best choice at this point is to try and just put all of his eggs in one basket. Try to go for like one final hurrah, like one push. He's trying to make the transition here to Mass Phoenix, which is basically him trying to play the macro game. It's a cool idea in theory, but I really doubt that Rogue is gonna allow you to get away with it. My god. Yeah, Rogue is making Zerg look really busted. Man, what a disaster. Now the Cyber Core is gonna fall. You know what you can't make without a Cyber Core? Stalkers. More Mutas are coming up. Lings in the meantime in the upper left. The pocket expansion has also been killed by Zerglings. Top left-hand base is gonna fall. Yeah, I think Trigger just needs to put all of his eggs in one basket. Just try to go for one attack. There's an insane amount of creep spread as well, though. So, honestly, I wouldn't blame Trigger. Because he's playing a best-of-5 series here, I wouldn't blame Trigger to, like, not get triggered, you know? Just by GGing out. Because this would trigger this would trigger me like crazy. I honestly am surprised he's still in this game. Like, this has been hurting. Oh, more probes? No way, dude. GG. Oh, Rip it off, man. Now look, sometimes I see people commenting that I obsess over the early game a little bit too much. But seriously, that previous match, it can all be traced back to the first 2 adepts. Those first 2 adepts just set the entire momentum in motion for Rogue. Like, that entire game started off wonderfully for Rogue because those first 2 adepts died and dealt basically no damage. It triggered the Zerglings to go across the map. It then simultaneously triggered the Oracle to stay at home for defense. It triggered the Zerglings, killing the pylon that was building over at the 3rd Nexus, which then triggered a supply block for Trigger. And from there on out, the Muta play was a no-brainer, or any sort of aggressive follow-up, I suppose, and it just falls apart. It's the domino effect. And sometimes, look, the early game in StarCraft 2 is absolutely critical. Like, it's like the foundation of the game. It's very easy to look at unit compositions in the mid-game and think to yourself, okay, what could have been changed, right? But very frequently, when you try to get better at a game like StarCraft, you gotta look at the early game details, because they make all the difference. Let's not sacrifice them this time around, Trigger. I know it's always enticing to think you're gonna be able to get like 6 drones. Oh, he does it again. I like the positioning better, though. This time around, with wedging them between the mineral fields, at least he's gonna get slightly more value. Yeah, I kind of hate it, man. Like, we didn't even get 2 drones this time. 4 Zerglings rather than 2 drones. Do we want that? Here go the Lings again. Luckily here, though, 4 Trigger, right? He killed 4 Lings. So at the very least, this pylon should be somewhat safe. Oracle number 1 is not even trying to go across the map. Yeah, I don't think this is enough Zerglings. Okay. It's slightly less dramatic. But now he didn't kill the drones. And now we did lose the 2 adepts. I don't think 2 adepts for 4 Zerglings is worth it at all. Oracle is going to get across the map with very little energy remaining. Okay, 1 drone. 2 drones. Oh, so much hull damage taken on the Oracle. Oracle number 2 swoops in around the other side. There is a Spore Crawler in location over here, though. Oh, he chases the drone. It's bad for my blood pressure. Okay. Trigger has decided to mix things up a little bit. Can't blame him too much. He's going charge together with +1. Now, this is really good, especially if the opponent decides to skip out on the Roach Warren. Rogue has made a Roach Warren in all the games so far. Apparently, now he feels like he can get away with it. Or can get away without it. He could go for a very quick Hydralisk then, I suppose. If he gets up to the lair fast enough. But this is a little bit of rock, paper, scissors going in favor of Trigger. Because obviously, he cannot control whether or not Zerg gets a Roach Warren. It is very difficult to stop like a Immortal, like an Archon Zealot type of all-in here. So we have the Adepts committing. Very difficult to really stop a push like it with pure Ling. And that seems to be where Rogue is headed right now. So this may kind of be Trigger's, his way out of this match. He can also just play the macro match off of this, right? But I think, considering he's adding on a load of gates right now, it's going to be 8 gateways on 3 bases. Prism coming up. We'll probably have an Observer on the back of this. This is just going to be a good old Archon Zealot push. One of the really nice things, and one of the downsides of Archon Zealot pushes, is that you send it across the map, and then you attack move, and you basically let Tassadar take the wheel. Like, there is very little micro other than deciding where the fight is going to take place. Now, last time, actually, it's a 10 gate. It's a 10 gate. Last time we saw Tassadar take the wheel, he steered the Gantrothor into a collision course with the Overmind. So maybe that's not what we... But seriously, that's kind of what it feels like. There's very little you can do as a pro gamer to get more value, other than, I guess, Archon juggling, out of your Zealot pushes. But here we go. Trigger is gonna go for 1 push for all the marbles. There's a Baneling Nest. Yeah, and I guess Tassadar did kill the Overmind. So it depends on what the goal here is for Trigger. He is willing to sacrifice this army if it means winning the game. Oh, those Banelings were wonderfully dodged, though. And you know what? The splitties there were good. Couple of speed baits moving in on the right. Not the best defense against those, but there's a lot more zealots coming. The queens are not in range of the prism just yet. This spore crawler is trying to be, but it's also not quite going to be able to get the job done. Archon needs to be snatched up by the prism. It does get snatched up by the prism. And now the queens are on the run. About 50 lings, though, are reinforcing this. They do have +1 melee, which is nice, but +1 melee on those zealots is even better. Another big warp in. This spore crawler is trying to get within range too. The queen's now targeting down the prism, but the prism will live. And that'll be the end for Brenda, Karen, Margaret, and all the ladies. Trigger gets a point on the board. Okay, that will take us to Winter Madness. Trigger getting a point on the board, but honestly, I didn't really like that game very much for him. Like, that is... Look, you gotta mix in a little bit of luck from time to time, right? But that really felt a little too much like rock, paper, scissors to me. Now, I know it's a bit conflicting, right? Because I know that I praise Hero for the very same thing. Like, I cast Hero games all the time, and I keep going on and on and on about how he always seems to get lucky with those sorts of roles, but... I don't know, when I see Hero playing risky strategies, it seems very smart to me. When I see other Protoss players playing risky strategies, it feels like they're rolling the dice and hoping for the best. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of feels like somehow Hero uses like a weighted coin. Even though technically what he does is very coin flippy. He wins like 80% of the time with the coin flips. We need to go check out his coin, really. There might be something cursed about it. But I don't know, I always get this vibe that when other players do it, it's unnecessarily risky. And at the very least, it's a difficult game to reproduce. What makes Hero so phenomenally good at StarCraft is that not only does he, well, go for those very risky builds, not only is he willing to put it all on the line for like a 60% chance if he feels like it's worth it, but he also has really strong macro games, right? Like, he has these, well, late games where he looks incredibly dominant too, because he has that really solid micro and macro and all the rest of it. So... It's a different vibe. It's a different vibe to me. And I understand that maybe that's a little bit double. And maybe I'm just a Hero fanboy. Who knows? Anyway. This time around, we didn't have the Adept sacrifice. Oh. No hold position, though. That makes it all a little bit messy. Oracle tries to get some kills over at the third. Nothing to be seen here. Second Oracle pops out, and it's going to be idling over at the third Nexus for just a bit. Evo Chamber again for Rogue. Rogue seems to be a big fan of the good old +1 melee. He's now gone for it every game. I'm assuming at least this will be +1 melee yet again. We'll have to find out here in just a moment. He's not going to skip the Roach Warren this time. Yep. There we go. Next 100 gas will be for Allaire. Rogue is doing the same thing every time. Except for the previous game where he skipped out on a Roach Warren and he immediately got punished for it. Fourth hatchery, planted down already. There's indeed that lair. About 4.5 to 5 minutes is usually when we see Zerg players aiming for it. Here's that little move out again with the Adepts, just like what we had in the previous match. Okay, I'm gonna try and swoop around the side. The links are actually not in the right place. That means that these Adepts are gonna be a bit of a nuisance. Yeah. I don't know. The little Adept hit squats are cool. And sometimes they're really efficient, but... I feel like Zerg players have gotten much better at defending it. Like, that was kind of the best case scenario, and he killed very little. I am not loving the way the Trigger is controlling his Adepts this game. Or this entire series, if I'm being frank. And my name isn't even Frank! I had a friend in high school whose name was Frank, but we never called him Frank. We called him by his last name. No, we're not. Frank was too long of a name. I know it's only a single syllable, but still. No, we called him by his last name, which was even shorter somehow. All right, Infestation Pit coming up. Rogue is not going into a Hydra Den yet. No second Evo Chamber either, so I wonder where this is gonna go. For now, though, it will just be Pure Ling again. So after playing Pure Ling in the previous game and it didn't work out, we're gonna go Pure Ling again in this game too. But he's not playing against Adepts, he's not playing against Zealots. So he doesn't really need the Roaches. +1 melee will be plenty good here to really be dealing with these Stalkers. And this is the annoying thing for Protoss, right? Like, you go for the standard, aka the Stalker build, but +1 melee Lings are so annoying to deal with because they deal so much damage. That +1 melee upgrade really makes all the difference here. Suddenly those Stalkers just seem like they are made out of paper. Yeah. That's gonna trigger a recall. And he will go for a 4th Nexus, but now the 4th Nexus is not quite at the time where you would like to have it as Protoss. Right at this point, it's gonna be Rogue re-droning up the 4th Hatchery and then, well, building up towards that Hive as well. Second Evo Chamber does pop up. I wonder what he's gonna be making, though, at Hive. Because he doesn't have a second armor, or like a second Evo Chamber for the armor research early enough. And likewise, he doesn't really have a Lurker transition imminent here. He does not have a Spire for Brood Lords. It has to be Ultras. It's really the only thing that makes sense, but... yeah, usually with Ultras, you do want to get the Carapace upgrade a little bit sooner. At the very least, Trigger has not yet started Immortal production, so that's one nice thing here for a Rogue. Templar Archives is set coming up. The Gateway numbers are now also improving. Hive is done. Adrenal Glands, Ultra Cavern. Honestly, maybe just getting Adrenal Glands is already worth a Hive. You got so much value out of that Adrenal Glands research in the first game that it's really hard to argue with it not being a good idea. But he does go into the Immortal production now, though. And we are going to see a really nice army here for Trigger. Good old Archon, Immortal, Zealot, Storm, with some leftover units from the early game. And this is always scary, man. Like, this is a timing attack that just... when it hits, it can hit really hard. Rogue wants to buy as much time as possible. That Zealot needs to be on hold position. It is on hold position. These Lings are going to get +2 melee here very soon. He knows, though, that he needs the units at home. There's so many Banelings available right now. Where's the Storms? We actually don't have any Storms. He got the research going for a little bit. I believe he canceled it just so he can go for more Archons. The splits here are good, though, but there's still so many Lings available, and there will be a lot more reinforcements as well for Rogue. I think that fight was good enough here for the Zerg, who's now going to be able to wrap all of his Zerglings around each individual Protoss unit. He did kill a hatchery over here on the right, but I think Trigger hoped for a little bit more. Adrenal Glands is now going to be done in a moment. Yeah, it's a little bit double, right? So against Banelings, you really want to split. Because if you don't split against Banelings, they're going to deal splash damage. But against Zerglings, you really don't want to split. Because then their surface area gets maximized. Okay, back to the drawing board we go. I think Rogue is thinking the same thing here. So he realizes, okay, now Trigger is going to definitely transition to Skytools and he's going to turtle up. Right? Like, it's the one thing that just makes the most sense. He immediately, because of it, double expands. He knows that he's going to have some time here available. Looks like we're going to go for a little bit of dropping. I'm assuming these are going to turn into Dropper Lords. Which means that Rogue is once more ready to lay down the law on the other side of the map with all kinds of aggression. Keep in mind, though, there we go. He does not have Lurkers this time. There's also no Nidus network, although he could easily add one of those in the mix. But I think Lurkers usually are the real annoying thing for Protoss. Having to have detection and, well, all of the units in the right place at the right time is tricky. Plenty of photon cannons set up at the moment to really, deal with all of this. Storm, by the way, does indeed get started up yet again. Spire coming up here too for Rogue. We do have a revelation over on the left side, as there is no Spore Crawler present. Okay. The Zerglings, though, are gonna now unload in the natural. A little bit of Zergling carpet bombing here. These are Zerglings with +2 melee and adrenal. So they can actually get rid of those zealots reasonably well, yeah. Loads of probes will die, and now this zealot over here that's on hold position may be next. And that's gonna open up the door for more Zerglings to run through. Where in the world is that Protoss army? I guess he hoped that the reinforcements alone were going to be enough, but this is all so annoying. Second robo facility is actually gonna fall. Oh, never mind. It will live. Immortal now in the wall off, and we do get a revelation onto these links. Burrow is just such a nuisance. We saw how efficient that was in the previous game. Ultralisks are out though. I would like to see the Ultras maybe join forces here on the right side of the map. They won't care about the stasis ward. Okay, well, Trigger is gonna... Or Rogue Runner is gonna just trigger it just like that. Brute Lord coming up. Interesting Sim City, by the way, in the main base. He has like a circular layout, or like a square right over here. There's definitely some entrances, though, into the mineral lines. But we don't normally see Protoss building like that. It's an Ultra drop! Ultralisk drop harass! What Overlord is the Ultralisk in? That's a very old school StarCraft meme. If you remember that, you're likewise also old. Yeah. That was Cats versus Destiny in like 2011. Oh, the High Templar are leading the charge. Robo, oh, hello, High Templar, what are you guys doing? Okay, he saves at least some of them. Whew. They were feeding themselves to the Ultra, man. A little bit of human sacrifice. Or Protoss sacrifice, I suppose. To appease the Zerg gods. The greatest honor in the life of a High Templar. To be YOLO'd into the maw of a very hungry Ultralisk. Brute Lord follow-up right now for Rogue. Yeah, and I just don't really like this for Trigger. I'm starting to get, like, flashbacks to game number 1. I mean, it's a different match. We have a different Zerg playstyle across the board. But it kind of just feels like Rogue has had, like, both hands on the steering wheel of this series ever since the very beginning. Like, sure, he lost the previous map, but it's because he decided to cut a corner and cut the Roach Warren out. Fair enough, that happens, I guess, every once in a while, but Rogue just seems to be in full control. It's a very winnable game for Trigger, don't get me wrong. Like, this is by no means a terrible spot for the Protoss. I mean, he's got 4 base economy, and he's got a banger of an army. He can play effectively whatever he wants. But it always just feels to me, whenever Rogue gets to this point in all of his games, he just looks like a beast. He's really a fan, though, of these melee upgrades, right? Like, that's the reason that all of these Ling, Bane, and all of these pushes that he's gone for are actually still viable. Now, we have a Overlord over here on the right side with some Banelings inside of it. This is a build or a strategy that we don't really see all too often. Yeah, Trigger knows that it might be imminent. It's so scary to be playing against Baneling drops, because they can make a, well, mineral line disappear. Oh, he's gonna try. He's gonna go along to sight. A lot of Archons can be coming up, but no, not this time. Not this time. Night is where I'm coming up. Second Spire. Brute Lord numbers are already coming too. We have 7 of them. It's gonna make 10 in total. And you know what? Archon Immortal Storm is really, really bad against Brute Lords. Like, this used to be the counter back in, like, Wings of Liberty. This is what Zerg players would aim for. Brute Lord and Fester was the hard counter to this type of army composition. There's just no way for Trigger to reach the Brutes. I mean, technically you can try and blink Stalkers underneath, and I guess that's possible, but that requires a tremendous misplay from the Zerg player. I think actually Rogue should commit more. I think he should fight more right now. There is no Skytles transition. Like, this follow-up right here from Zerg usually gets countered by Protoss going into Tempests. There is no anti-air unit here for Trigger other than Stalkers, and he doesn't have that many of those. Just the 4 of them. I guess he's got movement. Yeah, he decides to split up the troops, which I actually kind of love. Brute Lords are by far the slowest unit here. So I guess if you can split up the troops and sort of run circles around the Zerg army, He's never gonna win a straight-up fight, though. That's way too many Brute Lords. We have 13 Brutes. But he can't run away from it. Kind of like what Mutaling Bane usually does, right? Where Zerg technically gets countered a lot by the Protoss units, but they just never really get into a straight-up engagement. I mean, he gets another hatchery kill here. He's now grabbing that Nexus as well on the upper right. Now he goes Fleet Beacon, finally. Yeah, and Rogue wants to fight here. He's like, yo, bro! Protoss always wants to fight. Why are you backing up and running away from me? If he can corner this army, though, because obviously it can't run forever if it's stuck in one of the bases. If he corners this Protoss army, it is going to be super duper dead. We do have a push yet again inside of the main base. This time around, the Protoss reinforcements, though, will be able to take care of it. Protoss army, in the meantime, is running around. I think using these Brute Lords for a counterattack here is going to be extremely good. Link's now in the upper right-hand corner. Man, Rogue makes Zerg look so busted. What do you even do as a Protoss player? I mean, the Brutes are gonna go home, right? So that's nice, but how do you stop this? Like, where do you take the game from here? There is no answer here for Protoss at all. Like, yeah, he can counterattack. Like, he can run circles around the Brutes. But as long as the Brute Lords come home eventually, there's really no other way than to go back for Trigger. Like, he can't move here. I guess he can maybe try to dive deep and then recall. That's an option. Mama is added into the mix. Mama will, of course, be a secondary source for recalls. Okay, the Stalker numbers, though, have gone up. Dude, this is like a Wings of Liberty game now. Man. Keep in mind that Brute Lords had their big bug fix with the most recent StarCraft 2 patch. Their damage actually has gone up so much that their movement speed got reduced again. So this was a bug fix that basically makes the Brute Links a lot more reliable. And it's a very significant damage increase for Brutes. To counter it, they reverted the movement speed buff from a few years back. So yeah, if you're wondering whether or not these Brutes are slow and sluggish, they certainly are. But they deal more damage now than they have ever. Oh my god, man. Now the Ultras go into the main base. The Brute Lords are still trying to chase this down. The other half, though, of the Protoss army is currently in the bottom left. If somehow, some way, I think that's a good way out here for Trigger. If somehow, some way, he catches the Brute Lords with the Stalkers, it is once more a playable game for him. The problem is the Stalkers keep wandering around on creep, so Rogue knows where they are. He can see them coming in from a mile away. There's, by the way, no anti-air in this Zerg army anywhere. Kind of ironic. There's no way to kill the Mama ship. But I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, this might be an opportunity, though, here for Trigger. Yeah, we have the time warp onto the Brute Lords here, but there's plenty of links remaining, and obviously, Zerglings, they will eat Stalkers for breakfast. Maybe if the Archons get underneath? We have a little bit of stutter step Myco on the Brutes. Pure Ultra Ling reinforcements right now here for Rogue. Mama is just right-clicked onto it, man. Mama actually is getting the kills. She has 10 kills already. Don't know why she activated the cloaking field here. I guess it's to help those Stalkers kind of close the distance. And here we go with Trigger's counterattack. You know what? The Brute Lords are in the wrong place at the wrong time. That means that this army here from Trigger needs to be killed with Ultras and Lings. But that's not gonna cut it. Wait a second, did Rogue just throw the game? Because those Brutes, they need to be used for countering this army right over here. Zerglings and Ultras cannot really get the job done. Mama is just targeting them down one at a time. Now we have a bunch of Queens working away at the Mothership. Time Warp gets thrown onto them. Looks like the Brute Lords may try to counter this eventually. Trigger can always recall, keep in mind. Oh. He's gonna take out a bunch of hatcheries, though, on his way home. I think this is good enough for Rogue. But you can see, yeah, you can see how finicky this still becomes. Is this a recall towards the Mothership? It is! We are not going home. We're gonna hunt down even more hatcheries. Trigger might just be pulling a rabbit out of a hat. This man is sniping hatchery after hatchery after hatchery. The Nexus on the right will be remade. Zergling counterattack, though, heads in that direction, and this right here is the key. If Rogue was just focused on defending, I think he would be very unhappy with his newly acquired economy here for Protoss. So, okay, Trigger takes down, like, pretty much all of the mining bases for the Zerg. But there's still one base, and Trigger has nothing. Okay. Yeah. That was the Hail Mary play here from Trigger, and it was close. He can continue split pushing for a little bit longer. But now Rogue has added a bunch of infestors in the mix. And we've seen how greatly efficient they were in the first game of this series. If we can get a fungal growth off on this army, if the Brute Lords can then engage, if maybe a microbial shroud. I mean, he didn't research it, but it's still very useful in this situation. I think it's mostly, though, for fungal and maybe for neural parasites soon to be. I mean, he's got the microbial shroud queued up. The infestation pit is slowly, losing HP because it's no longer on creep, with the third base dying. Should be able to finish the research in time, though. Yeah, I think this is just barely good enough for Rogue, but man, what a crazy engagement. Rogue actually has so much gas still remaining. I think you just keep making infestors here. I think investing in infestors is what you do. He's got 44 drones, but they're all mining over here. He will take the base in the far bottom left. He's also doing a little bit of long distance mining from that 9 o'clock base. Trigger has not really had any income, though, in a very long time. Like, he's got 8 workers. Like, he's got 8 probes, and he's mining this mineral field over here. But that is resulting in about 200 minerals a minute. Not even. Oh. Down to double digits. Action is here on the Protoss, though. There is no way that Trigger can play this out passively and come out ahead. I highly doubt it. Maybe he's waiting for all of the cooldowns to be available again on the mothership. But the longer that this game goes on, the more spellcasters there will be available for Trigger, and the more energy that set spellcasters will have. So I think Rogue slowing this down is the right thing. There is zero urgency here on the side of the Zerg, and honestly well read here for Rogue. I think it's very easy here to maybe get a little bit carried away trying to keep boxing in this army. Trigger is just hoping for the best now. Zerg is no longer occupying, though, the upper right-hand corner of the map at all. Probe count is being rebuilt by Trigger. Rogue actually building up a very reasonable amount of Corruptors again. He's turning every single last one of them into Brute Lords. So we just end up with pure Brute Lord Infestor. Just like in 2010. A Stargate starts up for Trigger. There is no way, dude. I guess he kept the Fleet Beacon alive? But I mean, you can make 1 Tempest at a time. How in the world are you gonna win this game? 1 Tempest at a time. He's playing a little mini game over here with an Overlord in the upper right. Yeah, I think what we're witnessing here is a very slow death animation for the Protoss. I do not see a way out of this spot here for Trigger. Unless Rogue really massively mixes things, or you know, messes things up here, but that is really not something he's known for. Rogue is not a very emotional player whatsoever. Maybe if there were like Dark Templar running around the map, it could still be nice. But at this point, Trigger's very best chance is to cross his fingers and hope Rogue throws it. Now, I could do it. Like, if I was in Rogue's shoes right now, I think I could lose. Not very proud of that. But I could probably pull it off. But yeah, I don't think Rogue is gonna let this one slip out of his fingers. So this, by the way, is from the Lulu Cup, a quarterfinals match, an elimination game. Now, I already did recently cast the finals of this particular tournament. Absolute banger. Spoiler alert, neither Rogue nor Trigger was in the finals. So a little bit unlucky in that regard, I suppose. But yeah, neither of them managed to go that deep into the tournament. The finals being Serral versus Maru. If you haven't seen that game yet, it's up on the YouTubes. YouTube.com/LowkoTV. It's very good. It's a very good series. Anyhow. Now that Rogue is maxed out again, he decides to go for a bit of a move. He doesn't really want to give Protoss too much wiggle room, but he's got 18 Brute Lords, 14 Infestors, and 9 Corruptors. Yeah, I've got a feeling this is going to be a super anticlimactic moment where Trigger is like, okay, I'm out. Some nice feedbacks, I will say. At this point, he needs to get like a 10-to-1 value out of his units to do anything. He can't stop the Brutes. Brute Lords are actually... It's funny, right? Because Brute Lords are oftentimes considered to be like maybe the worst Zerg unit or like absolute bottom tier. Maybe Swarm Hosts are considered to be like lower on the ladder, right? Like if we were to make like a Zerg tier list, most people would rate Brute Lords kind of near the bottom. But if there's no reliable counter, they just kill everything. They destroy everything. If you don't go Skytoss, this is what happens. Brilliant series of StarCraft 2, though. Across the board, Rogue just seemed like the better player. Trigger certainly didn't play poorly, especially that first game was very competitive, but Rogue just sort of seemed one step too far, and he just kind of makes Zerg look overpowered. GG.